Good morning, everybody. My name is Shubi Joshi. I'm one of the consultants here at CRM Dynamics. My apologies for the delay today. The agenda that we're going to cover is we're going to take a deep dive into improving user adoption, look at some of the reports that are available within Dynamics to help you notice the challenges that your users might be facing and how we can measure and improve ROI on your investment for a CRM platform. Let's start at the very beginning. Why do organizations need or get a CRM system to begin with? The top 5 driving factors that we see for a CRM implementations typically are to track and efficiently manage your customer information, your sales pipelines, your support tickets, work orders, projects, and so on. Second, to standardize processes, which may be based on different teams, based on the different sizes of your deal, and improve collaboration and productivity amongst your peers. And the third is to provide visibility and better reporting for management, which ultimately helps you connect your sales, marketing, customer service, and all your other teams together. Organizations also look at their CRM platforms to help them automate some of the tasks that they might be working on manually on a regular basis. These are not the only reasons. There are many others. Think of all the reasons why you as an organization decided to implement Dynamic CRM. And these sound like core reasons why people would pursue this big initiative. And it all sounds amazing, right? With such strong driving factors, it's no surprise that all organizations at some point or another look to either get a CRM platform. But then why is CRM adoption a challenge? In the words of the great Michael Scott or Wayne Gretzky, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So along the same lines, tools that aren't used or don't get adopted by your users provide 0% of the value. It's never good when comments like these pop up from your peers, where they say it's too complicated or these things are so hard to use. Comments like these actually cloud all the benefits that you were looking at or thinking about as an organization when you were first looking for the system. And what ends up happening is the system never gets leveraged or utilized to its fullest potential. And you know what? A lot of the organizations out there, instead of fixing those problems or taking care of those challenges, companies decide to go through the process again and again. And it's the same steps where they purchase a new software, it's either improperly or incompletely implemented, and then they see user adoption challenges, no results, no ROI, or no significant changes or improvement in their organization. And then they look at the watch and count the seconds till the contract expires and ultimately repeat that cycle all over again with a different software. However, a lot of the times it's not because of the features or the quality that the software fails. It's due to the lack of adoption, not necessarily the functionality. So what goes wrong really, and how can we avoid that? Some of the common mistakes that we see in organizations trying to attend or implement a Dynamics platform is they either don't spend enough time to define their processes and the real issues that are around it. There's no one standard process that everybody follows. It's understandable if you have conditions. So for a certain type of deal or for somebody who has a higher SLA, support tickets need to get resolved faster. However, there are times where there's only one person in the organization who really understands how everything works, and they end up leaving the company. And now suddenly there's nobody who can help you define the business processes. And that's the first challenge. We highly recommend all our customers, before we start implementing the system itself, to go through all our workshops and the joint discussion sessions where we will sit with you and help you define and streamline all your business processes and essential reports that need to get generated out of that. A lot of the organizations out there actually skip this step, and that's one of the biggest mistakes they could make when implementing the system. The second problem we see a lot of times is they don't think about the users. A lot of times management needs certain reports or wants to see certain analytics, and that ends up being the center of a CRM implementation. And nobody thinks about the users that are actually going to be using the system. It's also about making their lives easier and helping them do their work more efficiently and faster. The third issue we see is the lack of executive sponsorship. It always needs to come top down as to what the goal is for implementing Dynamics or implementing your CRM system, and how we are going about achieving that. What is the long-term objective or the ultimate goal or the roadmap that we're going for? Another challenge is either organizations get too ambitious too fast, so they want to change all their processes, revamp all their groups and teams all at once, which becomes too painful for the end user to train on and understand and adapt. Or they go the other direction where they decide to start with an MVP, or the minimum viable product, which is not necessarily viable and doesn't allow their users to do enough in a system. And what ends up happening in that case is users typically start having a mentality where, oh, not everything's available in this platform yet, so I'm still going to keep using the older system. And they never get off it and come and truly start to acknowledge and adopt the platform. So having a minimum viable product is an excellent idea, and it is something we implement for a lot of our customers, but it is important to understand with your team as to what that MVP looks like and what are the core functionalities that need to be on the platform before they would be ready to adopt it. And then once we have the MVP, or the minimum viable product, it is equally essential to define the roadmap for that product. How can we now start reducing some of the other softwares that we have and merge everything together into one platform so we have an integrated, if not a single solution that the staff can use? And once we do all that, another mistake people often make is not communicating the benefits and goals, just doing the implementation and forgetting it there, which is not enough. Once we do the implementation, it's really important to then look at all the goals or all the key factors that were an acting force when you decided to implement the system, and then look how far you have come from there and how are they helping you achieve the goals that you initially thought of. And then also communicate that out to your team members and celebrate those victories. If it's not helping you achieve those goals, look at what went wrong and fix the issues or the pain points that your users are experiencing. And finally, the biggest mistake people make is not enough training. Training is really essential depending on your type of organization. Some people might be really fast to pick it up, where some people may need more training. Also, more often than not, you'll have new people joining your organization or some key people leaving the organization. So an ongoing training or enough training in the beginning of the project is really key and essential to getting your staff to adopt your CRM platform. So these are some of the key mistakes or the common mistakes that we see in our implementations that organizations make. What can we really do to improve that is the next question. I firmly believe that it all starts at knowing your organization. What kind of team do you have? If you have users that struggle with Outlook, or if your team's full of individuals who are very tech savvy, knowing your team really helps you identify how much flexibility you have in terms of not only choosing your platform, but also how much change can you implement together and how much change will they be willing to adopt. It also helps you identify who are the leaders that influence the people around them and the super users who will be the advocates or the owners of this platform. The second thing we always recommend you to is define your processes. Like I said before, it's always the first step of any CRM implementation is to figure out your process, figure out where the data currently lies and how you want to improve from it, and also streamline and identify some gaps between the two departments. And that's something only you as an organization can do. And then the third thing is to solve a real problem. A lot of times when new systems are introduced, we are either changing somebody's job or some people get threatened that their job might now be obsolete. And if you change someone's job without offering a clear benefit in return, expect friction. So show them how these changes will provide value to them. For example, if you want a salesperson to log their calls diligently or more often, make it clear how logging their calls improves their close rate or helps them save time because they don't have to dig through all the emails to find out what was last conveyed or when was the last time a communication was made. If you need them to, let's say, close more opportunities, show them, does it affect their commission forecasting that might be built into the platform? How does it really help them? And that's a key thing that really helps people adopt the system. What in it is for me? So solve a real problem that exists currently in your day-to-day lives. Define your top 5 KPIs and then build report on them. So now that you know all the problems and have decided to implement a CRM system, write those down. Write down your 5 to 6 top key performance indicators that you're trying to improve by implementing the system. And then finally, when we start implementing it, and this is something we encourage all our customers and kind of force it down as well, is to make it simple and really easy to navigate. I understand that there are organizations out there that need hundreds and hundreds of data entries done on a form. However, does it make it easy for the system? Complex or really busy forms and systems, at least in my opinion, cause content overload and unnecessary stress on the user. So have an intuitive navigation, something like what Dynamics offers, having a dashboard that is role based. So if I'm a customer service rep, what it is that I need to see on one screen. If I'm a sales rep, what are the things that are important to me? If I'm a manager, show me what the sales leadership board looks like or what the pipeline looks like currently, what the forecasting looks like, and how many invoices have been paid and so on. So show me what's relevant to me. And look for features, leverage the new features that are there in the 365 platform, such as autocomplete or predictive typing. Really, the idiom of less is more could not be of higher importance than it is for user adoption. And also, consider using mobile. So organizations that use mobile CRMs experience about 60% increase in user and adoption because everybody's on their phone these days, right? As a side effect, frontline employees also see almost 80% improvement in their productivity. So consider having the mobile CRM part of your initial launch. Not only that, when we're talking about the launch system, it's really key to know what kind of go live approach or implementation approach will your organization or your team take. And that goes back to the first step, to be honest, where it's really key to know your organization. Do you want to do a big bang approach? So remove all the complex system and have one system. But that may take a long time to implement and a lot of initial investment. So do you want to have a parallel adoption where you run two systems in parallel? And what happens with that one is, one, you're using two systems at the same time. So a lot of times there's double entry. And one of the potential drawbacks is people tend to stick with the older or the more familiar system for as long as possible rather than adopting the new one. However, it also gives them enough time and flexibility to use their old system while some of the issues may be ironed out in the newer platform. And then finally, something people tend to use a lot is the phased adoption. So in a phased adoption, you might start with either one team or one part of your process that's implemented in your newer CRM, like Dynamics 365, and you go on from there. And then the next phase is implemented that either ramps up that process or adds more data to it. Phased adoption usually results in a more organized transition than parallel adoption in our experience. Everyone knows what should be done in the new system, what the cutoff date is for the old system, and so on. It has the element of Big Bang where you're cutting off the older system and moving everybody here. However, it's done in phases. So if there are hiccups, it won't affect the entire organization essentially. And your support or your IT team knows where they can focus their energy. So really know your go live approach. And don't skimp on training. The amount of training required will depend, one, on the complexity of the system that you have implemented and your processes, how comfortable your staff is to CRM platforms or just software in general, and the number of roles and use cases you have. In any case, training is typically optimal if the system's, one, already set up, and two, if your users see familiar data that they are already used to working with. And that really makes it interactive. And that's how we like our training sessions as well. We love to make them as interactive as possible. We'll show them take small pieces at once instead of overwhelming them with, this is everything we've implemented in the Dynamics platform. Take small pieces. How do I enter a lead? How do I enter a phone call? How do I see my reports? How do I see which are the cases that I haven't responded to yet? So take it in bite sizes, really small processes. And as they do that, they'll see that how to enter a lead. Oh, that's really easy. How do I go to my dashboard? Oh, it's just a few clicks. That's really easy. And as they start seeing small portions that are really easy to do and easy to navigate around, they'll start adopting the system more and more and start working their way towards getting familiar with it and adopting some of the more complex processes that you may have implemented in the system. So one of the things we love showing our customers is how they can use their CRM system like it's Excel, because Dynamics offers an edit in Excel option, how they can use the ask a question feature in Power BI, where they don't even need the reports pre-built. They can just pre-type a question in their natural language and the report will automatically get generated for them. And finally, having these training sessions, so they are not information overload, but more along the lines of fun and interactive, so they can leverage what was taught to them at the same time while feeling relaxed and not necessarily stressed about all the changes that are being made to their processes. And finally, to revisit the KPIs that you defined earlier in the stages and celebrate your wins with your entire organization. These steps are inbuilt in our project methodology. So as we implement these projects, we will help you complete these steps to maximize the user adoption for your organization. And the goal is ultimately to eliminate every excuse that can be made out there. If they say it's too complicated, we try to keep it really simple. A lot of people complain, what good is it if I can't get any data out of it? And that's why we define the KPIs well in advance, create the reports, and show them how they can create their own. Some people complain that these things are too hard to use, so we'll train and train and train. And you as an organization internally can also hold training sessions that we'll talk about in a second. Some managers say, oh, my sales team never used the previous CRM we had. Why? Did it solve some of the real problems or challenges that they were currently facing? If not, what was the benefit that the sales team was getting instead of the manager? And then finally, if they say, oh, we spent all this money on a CRM software and what did we get? And this is where our ROI reports come in, where you can clearly see what were the KPIs that were defined even before starting the project, and revisit them and see what did you get for your money and how much more money did it make you. If you are an organization or team that already uses Dynamics 365 or any CRM system out there and is struggling with user adoption, do give us a call and we'll help you sort that out. However, the steps or the key parts or points to keep in mind would be something like this. The very first step is to overcome the negativity and frustration. We've met several organizations that come in and have tried to either implement a CRM in the past that didn't go really well, or they ran into several challenges while trying to implement their CRM system. And ultimately, all that negativity piles up and causes a lot of frustration amongst users. We need to let that slide. We have to overcome that negativity and frustration. And that's the very first step to even starting to get them to adopt a CRM system, is to avoid all that. If that has already happened, try to overcome it as far as possible. Once we've sort of made them a little happy, we'll start reviewing the user experience. What it is that you currently do and why is it so frustrating? Is it a lot of clicks to do something very simple? Is it very complicated to get approval? Are there any gaps in the business process that was implemented? Are there any system limitations that you were told of that may have now been overcome with the newer options that are out there? So review, what does the user experience look like? Are your users working in the system or around it, essentially? So we'll sit with you and review that. And then once we have fixed all of that and updated them and ensured there's no more frustration with the system, there are no more errors where they used to be, and so on, we love to turn your launch into an event. Make it a celebration, make it seem like it's important, make it an important part of your organization. Say, we're celebrating everything that you've done so far. Thank you for all your effort so far. And we're now going to start using the system. And even after all the training and the go live, always provide training refresher. So all the training material, for example, that you may get from us should always be somewhere where it's easily accessible, if not built into the system with some of the learning path abilities that Dynamics comes with. And then finally is to set clear expectations. And this typically comes from management, where instructions are passed down, where we say, this is the way the processes are done, and these are the new streamlined business processes that we're going to follow. And finally, continue providing that ongoing training opportunities for anybody who's new or just might need a refresher, because not everybody is as tech savvy as others. And finally, like I said previously, always communicate your success. The goal really is to not only have awareness or understanding amongst your users, the idea is to ultimately have leaders and champions in your organizations that not only just accept or understand or just buy into the platform, but to make them the owners and the advocate of the system, where they understand the vision with which you made a decision to get your CRM in the first place, and they understand the vision that you had behind going through all that effort and time and energy and money to implementing that system. But once we've done all this, how can we then measure it? Which starts becoming difficult. So some of the things we provide our customers when it comes to being able to measure their success and user adoption are, number one, we try to gamify it. What that means is a little healthy competition, whether it is as simple as a dashboard that just shows sales leadership or people who may have closed the most number of tickets, technicians that may have completed the most number of work orders, and so on. The second thing you can do is give feedback. So provide self-evaluations, where your users can identify what are some of the areas that they need help with. And these can be great topics for your future lunch and learns and training sessions and so on. We love sending out surveys, and we do send those out during the project as well for our customers, where we'll ask, how are you feeling about this project? Are there key areas that need to get implemented? If not in this phase, as soon as possible in the next one. If there are any big challenges, they might get a way, especially if they're anonymous surveys, to report and bring it to your attention. And finally, the reports. Not only are there analytics and reporting that's available within the platform, which I'll show you in just one second, we also provide reports for user adoption that you can leverage to see what it is that your users are using and where some of the key pain points are. So jumping into the platform, let me just quickly show you the native report that Dynamics provides for managers to see. So if you can see on my screen right now, this is the common data service for apps analytics, where you can see how many active users do you currently have in your CRM platform. And you can filter this by date and time and so on. You can also see how many creates and reads and updates they have been making by time. So you can see if they're really adopting the system or are only there when they really need to. You can see who are the most active users performing the most number of operations, who's going around the system making these updates. And that's one way to award these high-performing individuals and encourage others to leverage the system in an equivalent way. Not only that, if there are a lot of errors that are being thrown, you can also see which are the places or scripts or plugins that are throwing these errors. And these will help you identify the issues that may be present in your CRM system and take it back to your partner and help so that they can help you fix those. And these analytics can then be drilled down by date and time. So is there a specific time in the day where people tend to use Dynamics a lot? Are there specific operations that they are performing more than others? Should it not be that? So if you see that a lot of people are logging activities and phone calls and emails, but not enough people are actually logging their leads and opportunities, that is an indicator that you may need to go back and either retrain them or help them better understand what the advantage is of using the system to enter those in the first place. Not only that, you can see if there are different modes. So if they're leveraging their phone or using their phones to access Dynamics more than their laptop, do we need to work, if you don't already have, into having a mobile CRM and so on. There's another report out there. If you leverage Power Apps, which is a component of Dynamics as well, that helps you see how many times the app was launched, in which application, and so on. It also helps you see what version are different people on if you do have multiple versions of the same application. Not only this, we as an organization also provide you with some user adoption reports if you're a customer, that you can leverage to really notice and see what are the processes that they are following versus where there are gaps. Those reports will always be tweaked to your specific processes, so you don't get just generic data as to what is being used into the platform, but more along the lines of what it is that you as a manager or as an executive want to see your users adopt. Once we have mastered user adoption and we've seen all the reports and we can see everything's going wonderfully, how do we then measure our return or our ROI? The common way of seeing returns on CRM systems is to see an increased customer acquisition. Are you now closing more leads and opportunities than you were previously? Do you have a better customer retention rate? Have you increased as an organization your annual revenue? Does it look like it's increasing now? Has there been a reduction in cost per lead? So the amount of time and the marketing and all the other costs that may be involved in getting a lead, has that reduced? Are you now getting more leads and more attraction? And all these are measured in the ROI reports we have built as an organization. Not only that, there are also some metrics that may not be as measurable or in a report. And those are things like employee satisfaction and productivity. So if there was a high amount of frustration with your older softwares and complicated processes, and nobody used to be able to take a vacation because there was nobody else to cover up for them, has all that now been solved? Are your employees happier? Is your culture as a company better? And are they more productive while working in your new CRM platform? And then if you're also leveraging the marketing piece and dynamics, has it increased your brand awareness and made you increase your SEO and so on? And finally, the KPIs that we defined way early on, even before starting the project, those should always be a part of your ROI dashboard or just as a dashboard in general, so you can see how effective your CRM implementation was. These are some of the standard ways that people typically measure their ROI. However, we like to do things differently. For example, on our ROI dashboards for sales, taking up that as an example, some of the things we measure is number of sales calls made. So to get a lead, if previously you had to call 20 people and there was one lead, has that gone up? If there were 500 applications or live chats on your website, how many real leads did you get out of that, or real opportunities did you get out of that? Is the system helping you better identify and reach out faster to your customers? So, number of sales calls made. The second, number of interactions per sale. Because Dynamics has features that help you quickly send marketing material or use email templates to send some of the static or standard information that you always need or have to mention to your customers, is it making number of interactions per sale smaller, or is it making it faster? Are you leveraging the self-serve option, so the portal option of your CRM platform, to help your customers sort of find those information or fill out their forms on their own? Or is it easier for your customer to reach out to you? So has the number of interactions per sale gone down, where your salespeople now have more time to make outbound calls and reach out to more people than having to go through the formal paperwork that they need to go through to close the deal? The third thing we love to measure is the sales cycle duration. And not only do we measure it overall, where we sit and look at, has that overall or the average sales cycle duration gone down? So if typically it would take you 4 weeks to close a deal just to get all the paperwork in. Does it now take you 1 or 2 weeks to close that sales cycle? Or if we split it out in processes, does it sit on a proposal stage for way too long? So we're always waiting around to get a signature. Or if does it sit on the legal side for too long, where the legal department may need some help, or we may need more interactive processes in the legal side of the system, and so on. So how is your sales cycle performing, not only as a overall, but also in terms of individual stages? What we also love to look at is, has your individual and average customer value gone up? And that means in terms of how much are they spending with your organization in terms of wallet share as well. And that also leads to conversion and closing ratio, which we love to measure. So if you used to get 100 leads in the past and only 10 of them used to close, are you now able to close 50 of them? Because you have a system where either things are automated or the processes are streamlined, and you're able to use some of the collaboration pieces built into the system, so you don't have to go back to your email, send out an email, wait for the response, and so on. What we also love to measure is if you are leveraging the cross-sell and upsell functionality within Dynamics and reaching out to your existing customers and upselling some of them, either existing or new customers as well. And finally, what are some of the new opportunities this has opened up? So a great example would be if you always used to have warranty on your products, and for certain vendors, those warranties are claimed much higher than another vendor. You now have access to those analytics to go back and say, we either need a better negotiation where we're not paying for these warranties, or you might have the option to go and look for a different vendor. Similarly, if you're working with partners, you now have an option to say, we've sold X number of your products in the past year, and this is going up. And this being the peak season, let's come up with, let's invest in a marketing strategy so we can both be better partners and do well together there. So it really opens up to those analytics and new opportunities and improved processes and partners that the system can bring you. If you'd like to know more or see our ROI reports, please contact us at sales@crmdynamics.com.
Great, thank you, Shubi. If there's any questions, please begin to type them into the question box for us, and we will do our best to answer them for you. And as you do that, I would like to inform you to learn more on other D365 subjects or register for future webinars. Please visit crmdynamics.com/learning academy. So while we're waiting, have we received any questions yet? Let's have a look. So I have a question. How to work with the ever-changing platform and keep up with the trend?
That's a great question, because especially when you're online, newer updates keep on coming into your platform. So what we try to do is make the software such that they don't affect you immediately. However, we hold, for example, these webinars, and we'll constantly post on our blogs as well, so you're aware of all the upcoming changes, because it's really important to know what's coming up or is already part of your software. And we can then work on doing the phased approach if you want to leverage any of the new features that Dynamics has to offer.
Great. Thank you, Shubi. I have a second question for you. Does CRM Dynamics offer change management as part of the project?
We do a little bit of it. However, if you're a large organization and need a formal change management process, we have partners that we can refer you to.
Excellent. And I have a last question. Are there any reports that are available to measure ROI from D365?
Absolutely, there are. We have, as an organization, built several reports out there, but they are specific to what industry you're on and also what part of the software do you use. So if you only use sales and customer service, your ROI looks different than if you're using the field services and project services side of things. So if you'd like to see them in detail, please email us and we'll reach out to you and schedule a session for that as well.
Great. Thank you so much. I don't see any additional questions that have come through. So I wanted to thank everybody and Shubi. We appreciate you being here today with us. Again, our apology in advance for the technical difficulties at the beginning, but we would like to encourage you to continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel, CRM Dynamics CA, to learn more about CRM, Microsoft D365, or visit our website at crmdynamics.com/learning academy. And please note to everyone who have attended, I will be emailing out the recorded versions for from today's webcast, and we will also be posting the information in our YouTube channel again. So thank you, and have a dynamic day.
Thank you, everybody.
Cheers.